We have, let me just get myself, oh, something, my thing got messed up on this side here. Perfect, there we go. So as JJ said, my name is Bob McIntosh. I know I've met many of you guys before. If I haven't, it's a pleasure to meet you virtually now. I'll kind of walk through who I am here in a second, but I'm excited to teach you guys. I've been in real estate investing now for, since we bought our first house in 2008. So it's been 12 years. So I've been around for a hot minute in mastery since 2010. I'm gonna go through tonight a presentation that I call How to Unleash the Private Money Floodgates. Now, I want to be 100% clear about this. This is a new process. This is not being taught by anybody as far as I know. In fact, this is only the second time that I've taught this exact topic. This is something that's been newly developed. I've been working on it personally myself for about the last year or so, maybe a little bit less than, actually probably not even that. This since like 2020, like I think January, February was really when this process was born. This works not just for private money, but it works on a lot of capacities, but it will work for private money as well. With that said, the point of this process, it is a very labor-intense process. So I'm going to explain how we can automate some pieces of it, but not all of it will be able to. But there is value in execution. So understand that. So make sure that you have some paper, some pen, you got some notes or notepad up on your computer, or whatever else you need to have to make sure that you have this, because this is going to be a lot of great information. And I want to make sure that you guys take down everything. Now, as far as questions go, if there are questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. If I have the ability to answer, I have the questions up on my other screen here. If I have the ability to answer your question as I go along, I will. If not, I will open it up for other questions at the end as we go along through here. But and I believe JJ, you are in fact recording this as well, so we'll have that available. I believe, I don't know. I'll let JJ speak to that effect, but hopefully,
it is being recorded. We are recording this.
Beautiful. Okay, so everyone, give me a thumbs up. Do you guys see the slide that says Unleash the Private Money Floodgates? Give me a thumbs up if you do. Perfect. Looks like we're seeing that. Okay, awesome. So let's dive into this. Before I start, just a little background on who I am. Again, my name is Bob McIntosh. My real estate company is called Arcane Properties. We operate that with my dad in Buffalo, New York. We were flipping houses for a long time. Right now, we're focusing more on rentals and commercial deals, but we do that. I also run a full-scale digital marketing agency called 3 Degrees Consulting, as you can see here on my nice shirt, which helps real estate investors and really any business owner execute their marketing. So a lot of that is saying, hey, if you're tired of trying to figure it out yourself, I'm actually going to do it for you. And that's a big part of what I do now. But again, started in real estate in 2008. I don't know how many deals, to be honest, a lot, whatever that. I haven't actually tracked the exact number. I'm also a founding member of the Forbes Real Estate Council. So this enables me to post onto Forbes to talk about the real estate space, about anything I want to, when I want to. And a lot of that came simply because my social presence was better than anybody else's in the real estate space out there. That's the truth. So what we're talking about tonight is going to be a small piece of what you need to have out there, but it is a lot of stuff. Spoken for over 3,000 hours to more than 10,000 entrepreneurs. In fact, most of you guys are mastery students. Most of what Mind Protein teaches and the systems in place for Mind Protein were created by myself and a few others. I no longer teach for them or speak with them or associated with them in terms of as a speaker or trainer. But obviously, once you're a mastery student, you're kind of always a mastery student. But have taught lots of folks lots of great things. I'm also #1 Amazon bestselling author, and building your social presence can help you do that. You see a picture of me and my book launch, which was about 5 years ago. We hit Amazon #1 the day that it launched using social media. And like I said, I also own this digital marketing firm, and I also run a show similar to JJ's called the Guyao Now Show, which is a podcast and video show on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all those places. But all of this is simply to show you, hey, like, I've got a lot of experience in real estate, got a lot of things going on. When it comes to social media, I would argue in the real estate space specifically, there's very few folks who know as much as me. I don't necessarily know that I'm the best out there, but I am certainly in the top echelon just because this is what I eat, breathe, and sleep. I love doing this stuff and understanding how this works. And so what I'm going to teach you guys right now in the next 45 minutes to hour or so is going to be, how do we actually get more private money? Because that's the goal, right? We can talk about how we have sellers, and obviously we need all kinds of people in our business. But if we think about an average deal of, let's say, $100,000, and I go to a hard money lender, and let's just say they're charging, let's say 10% and 3 points, for example. Well, a private money lender, I might be able to get 10% and no points. And on $100,000, it's a $3,000 difference into my pocket straight, simply because I have that ability to tap into a private lender versus a hard money lender. And even if you're like, okay, Bob, I have private lenders. If you have more private lenders, you're going to have more choice, which allows you to negotiate better terms. So for example, on most of our deals that are not, that are flips, when we were flipping, I didn't pay a monthly fee to my private lenders. They got paid at the end of the deal. And the reason that they were okay with that, because I said, well, I've got someone else that's willing to do that. If you don't want to, I'll go to them and you don't get anything. And so they're like, oh, okay. Like, let's figure it out. Right. So having choice is the most important thing in this, and having more money available to us simply enables us to scale faster. And there's lots of places we can get this money from. And you guys probably know this, but just in case you don't, obviously retirement funds are the easiest source for us to do this, which what we talk about tonight will be particularly important. Sorry, I forgot to change this. The TSFA is actually a 401k. I gave this presentation to a Canadian group, so and I apologize. So some of the stuff here will be that, but instead of TFSA, think about 401ks. That's the US version. Obviously, HELOCs. What we're seeing right now is in most markets, prices have gone up. There's been a lot of appreciation, which means that there's a lot of equity in houses, which means that HELOCs can be a huge benefit to our business and what we do right now. Obviously, some people have savings accounts. This could be a great opportunity for us to tap into savings and actually help them do that. And then again, RRSP or RRIF is just the equivalent of a 401k or a self-directed Roth IRA or any sort of self-directed retirement account in the United States. So when we talk about building private money on LinkedIn and finding lenders, there's a thing that's super important before we ever get to the point of actually having a conversation, and that's making sure that you have the credibility trifecta set up. So there are 3 components that you need to make sure that you're doing absolutely perfectly before you actually attempt to do this, or you will not have success with this. It's as simple as that. Okay. So these 3 components break down like this. First is experience. Okay. Now, when I say experience, I don't necessarily mean that you have to say I've done hundreds of deals and therefore I'm worthy of having your money. No, all of you are a part of this. You're part of this network. Even if if you're a Fortune Builder student or not, whether, wherever you fall in the group of the real estate, you're a part of this group right here. And that enables you to say, my mentors and I have done this many deals. So I know there was several of you that said, hey, we're still looking for our first deal. That's okay. You don't, and by the way, one of the things that's important about experience, and this is something that I always tell everyone, the old adage of fake it till you make it is a bunch of bullshit, in my opinion. When you fake it till you make it, the problem with that is that you get caught. And when you get caught, it's going to be even worse for what it looks like to you. So own up to the fact. If you're brand new and you've never done a deal and you're talking to a private money lender, say, look, I haven't personally done a deal, but I have mentors that have done this many deals. The systems that I have in place are this. My people that, my coaches are this. These are the people that I've surrounded myself with to make sure that I can actually execute this at this level and go that direction. Now, when you do that, what you're setting yourself up for is to say, hey, look, even though I'm not going to lie to you and say I haven't done a deal, and try to sell you on it. Because when someone's giving us their money, especially in this case where we're finding individuals, this is not some big hard money company that has a bunch of money and if they lose it, whatever. Like you're talking about, you might, if you screw up, you could lose someone's retirement money. That's huge to them. That's super important. So I would never say to lie. At the same time, don't hold back on the resources that you have available and leveraging those resources to get yourself better. So to say, hey, look, I haven't done a deal, but I've done this. Now, obviously, if you've done deals, this becomes even easier, but you do need to highlight your experience. And a great place to do that is on your social profile. Let folks see what you're doing. The second most important thing that you can have is a great website. And I know some of my clients are on here that we've built their websites for them, which, by the way, guys, if you need a great looking website for a reasonable investment, please just reach out and ask me. Be happy to talk about that. But if your website looks old and dated, in other words, if it's built a decade ago and it looks old and dated, guess what's going to happen? You're not going to be seen as credible. You're like, oh, well, you're just like everybody else out there. Okay. It also needs to be communication. It needs to communicate at a higher level who you are, what you do, and what you've done. It needs to show the markets that you operate in. All these little details of your site, having a great website allows you to stand out to a potential investor, a potential lender when you're doing this process. And because you have a great website coupled with the experience, your probability of closing that private money lender increases. right? And then the third part is having a great social media presence. I can't tell you how many deals I've gotten and done simply because people know that we operate in the market that we operate in. And I know JJ is a huge fan, and he was just saying earlier tonight, hey, make sure that you put your links out there. Having great social profiles, having a great website, and showing your experience, or that you are tapped into people with experience, is the three things that you will need to make this process a success. If you are leaving any of these three out, I promise you it's going to be significantly less effective, if not work at all, simply because, again, we're trying to communicate with people who probably don't know anything about us, who may not have ever met us before. And in that case, we have to show ourselves in the best possible light for them to actually want to say, let me pull the trigger and invest with you. Okay? So the other thing is you need to have deals. This is an important thing. When we reach out, make sure you have something going on, okay? Your deals, it could be someone else's deals. It could be referral sources that you can send someone else to, but you've got to have this stuff set up. And here's the thing that I find all the time, which is, look, even if let's just say, for example, that you have no deals for a lender right now, but you go through this process and someone says, yeah, this sounds interesting. I would like to lend with you potentially, right? So even if you don't have a deal right now, take or borrow someone else's and make sure you get the permission to do this, but go through and say, hey, look, this is the kind of deal that we're looking at. And even if you say, you know what, this one's actually already been funded, when you position it as, hey, look, you've missed the opportunity on this deal, but I will bring you another deal kind of like this one or similar to this one, or very much like this opportunity here, you're setting yourself up for them to go, oh man, like, okay, when Bob calls me for a deal, I better make sure that I answer the phone call because his deals are going fast. And if I want to capitalize on this ability to make that kind of money, I need to respond fast. And so I'm training my potential lenders, whether I have a deal or not right now, to make sure that they get back to me as quickly as possible and that they pull the trigger as quickly as possible. And if I've already got a deal, great. I say, yeah, actually, you know what? I've got something in the hopper I think would be a perfect fit for you. Now, this is an important thing too. When we're talking about deals, if you've only got one deal right now, don't say, well, yeah, I got my first deal and we're ready to go. Just say, I have a deal that I think would be the perfect fit for you. That's not lying. I'm not faking it. I'm saying I have a deal. I may only have one deal, but positioning myself that I have a deal, that is a good potential fit for them, set them up to go, okay, well, I'm going to need to take advantage of this as quickly as possible. So understand that this is how we position ourselves is important. And that's why I talked about that credibility trifecta first. If those pieces aren't in place, if you don't have your experience dialed in, or at least your mentors and coaches dialed in, you don't have the great website that looks good and makes you look credible, and you don't have your social presence dialed in, you're going to find it significantly more difficult to make this process work. Okay, so let's talk about social media in terms of what we're talking about here for private money specifically. We have LinkedIn and then we have everything else. This is not to say, and I want to make it very clear, that other social media is not useful, but when it comes to raising private money, I have not found any other platform that allows what LinkedIn does for us to raise funds. Simply put, there is no other platform that can do what LinkedIn can do for this specific purpose. Now, this is not to say that other platforms are not useful. For what they're useful for, they are great. But for this particular topic, raising money, LinkedIn is better for a number of reasons. Number one, LinkedIn has the highest average income per user of any other platform. The average income of a user on LinkedIn is almost $90,000. When we figure that the average income of a US citizen is about $52,000, and they're almost double the average person. If they're almost double in terms of their annual income, you can bet that they're more likely to have savings, 401ks, retirement funds, other places to that. They're more likely to own a house, which means have a HELOC. In other words, what we're saying is they're our ideal candidate from a private lending standpoint. Okay. Number two is that it's business oriented. What I mean by that is most of the people on LinkedIn are corporate 9-to-5 folks. Because they're corporate 9-to-5 folks, guess what that means? That means that they may not be up on the best out there, right? So they might be, going, oh man, my mutual fund makes me 8% a year. And they're like, yeah. And you're over here like, I pay 12. big deal, right? And they're like, wait, what? Like people's minds get blown. One of the most amazing things I ever saw, I was at Grant Cardone's event. I don't know if you know who he is or not, but a very, very large scale, more on the commercial multifamily investment side. And I'm at his event in Vegas. And yeah, this guy's like, oh my God, can you believe it? Yeah, I got into his Cardone Capital private fund. He's paying 6% a year. It's unreal. And I just looked at him and I said, I pay my lenders between 10 and 12% a year. So that doesn't seem that good to me. And they're like, wait, what? And just like that, a conversation was born. Okay. And so understand that this process is a starting point. And Donnie, this is a great question. It says, how do you avoid SEC related issues on LinkedIn? Okay. So here's the deal. The SEC rules for raising private money don't apply to us because if you're doing it the way that it's being taught, which means I'm getting funds in and I'm putting that person or individual or company in a lien holder position against the property. If you're doing it that way, what you're doing is not actually raising money that's regulated by the SEC, so you don't fall in the rules. Now, obviously, we don't want to incur the potential wrath of the SEC by doing the wrong things the wrong way. Okay, so you do have to make sure you understand that. And this is not going to be a course on how to handle private money. That's a whole different topic. But understand that if you're simply placing people in the right direction, in other words, hey, you are a lien holder against this property by yourself and I didn't commingle funds, you should be fine from that standpoint. The other thing is that you're going to find as we go through here is the rules from the SEC state that you have to have an existing relationship. That's all it states. So what is an existing relationship? Well, there's lots of court cases that decide in lots of various ways. What I'm going to teach you tonight is not going to violate that because we're going to establish a relationship with somebody before we ever borrow money from them. And therefore we should be okay. And even if the SEC was trying to catch us, they're going to realize, oh, he's doing things or she's doing things the right way. So we're okay. So, you know, I wouldn't worry about that. Is it something to be aware of? 100%. Do we need to worry about it? Absolutely not. But understand that LinkedIn is still the best platform, right? So we have these corporate 9-to-5 folks making better than average income. And guess what? Because they have these retirement accounts, and a lot of times people don't know what, because they're corporate 9-to-5 folks, they don't understand that real estate investing is even a thing that they could do in terms of being a private lender. So you might be the first time they've ever heard of this. And because you're their first, they're more likely to give you the most amount of money, trust you at the highest level, and be most excited and talk to all their friends about who you are, right? So this is how we start this process, okay? So, sorry, guys, and I totally apologize. I forgot that this was all Canadian stats. I'm going to skip this slide. But actually, what I'll talk about is this. Because there's a lot of similarities, and I'm totally sorry about this. My apologies. But there are approximately 67% of Americans are on LinkedIn. It's a much, much larger number, but the rest of the stats are mostly the same. Okay, with the exception of the annual salaries, about 90 to 100,000. Obviously, account for the Canadian dollar difference, and that's where you see. So the stats are almost the same here. And again, finance, manufacturing, and technology are three of the highest, and healthcare is also large in the United States for the user base. So understand that because those are the places right here, the job types, those are folks that have more money, which is amazing for us to walk through and utilize. So, okay, let's just dive right into it. So 4 easy steps to finding lenders. There are 4 steps to my system that we built. Write these down, okay? Step 1, you need to define your avatar. Who are you going after? This is an important piece. You need to understand exactly who you're going after, because if you don't understand that, the rest of this process will not work very effectively. Number 2 is you need to have Sales Navigator. I'm going to walk through these in more detail, but you need to use the Sales Navigator. That is the paid feature of LinkedIn. You get 30 days of this for free when you sign up. So when you sign up, you'll have 30 days to do that. But look, I believe Sales Navigator is like $70 a month or $80 a month. One real estate deal with a lender from this process will pay for your Sales Navigator for the entire year. Literally one. Think about it. You save 1 point, you save 2 points, you save 1% on a deal. Even in a small market like here in Buffalo, where maybe I only need $100,000 to $200,000, that would pay for it all year long. So, but you do need a Sales Navigator. Step 3 is the messaging process, and step 4 is the follow-up process. So these are the 4 steps. Write these down. We're going to go through each one specifically and individually. Okay. So step 1, avatar. First and foremost, create your avatar. This needs to be done in detail. So when you think about avatars, I want you to literally create a fake human being who is your perfect private lender. Okay. So down to their name. And so when I talk about this, I want you to think about, like, you know, oops, sorry. Who are they? Are they married? Are they male? Are they female? What kind of job do they have? What kind of money do they make? What magazines do they read? How often? Are they using Facebook more, LinkedIn more, Instagram more? Are they on Snapchat more because they're monitoring their kids? What are their favorite hobbies? Do they play golf? Do they go to bingo? Whatever it is. What magazines do they read? What forums do they go on to? What websites are they most likely to visit? What shops do they go to? Are they a Starbucks person or are they a local coffee shop person? Like, nail down the details of your perfect private lender, because by understanding the details of who your perfect potential private lender could be, that is going to help you in the Sales Navigator process. But also understand that you need to know who are you needing to talk to, right? So if you get to someone and they're not your perfect avatar, don't waste your time. Right? What I'm seeing right now is this process, when done effectively and done correctly at its maximum capacity, will generate between 1 and 6 conversations a day for private lenders. Let that sink in for a second. When done at its maximum, between 1 and 6 conversations a day is what you should be experiencing. So if you don't know your perfect private lender, you could be wasting a lot of time having conversations with folks that are never going to lend to you. So understand who is your ideal person, okay? Number 2 is know your target market. All right. So when I talk about the private lending process, what I usually tell people in this methodology is focus on your local market. Focus on finding people in your backyard. The reason being is that those folks are more likely to lend money to you, especially if you're newer, because they can actually see the house, the project. They know that they can go buy and physically touch it if they want to. That makes it much, much easier. Now, this is not to say that, hey, you can't raise money from people anywhere in the world, really, but it tends to be easier, especially if you're newer, to get folks in the door in your local market because they feel safer about that, right? They know, oh, you're buying a house in a good neighborhood, it's good schools. I know that I would buy a house in that, you know what I mean? Like, so think about things like that, okay? Also, you want to leverage your network. This is something I think people do wrong. Like, they get so worried about saying, oh, I need to ask for private money from someone. I feel uncomfortable asking for it. Listen. Do you know for a fact that your process and your systems and your technology is going to give them the maximum possible return with minimal possible risk? And you do, because you're doing real estate. That's what we do. That's our whole selling point. Okay. And if that's the case, and you know that to be true, if you're not reaching out to your current network of people who already know, like, and trust you, you are a bad person. Because you are literally saying they're not worth getting more money. That person isn't important enough to me to help them out. That's how I want you to think about this from now on. So you're not asking for private money. You're helping your friends and network and family earn a better return so that they can have a better life. And if you're not doing that, willing to do that, then you need to reevaluate who you are as a human being. And when we put it in that perspective, all of a sudden asking for private money isn't asking anymore. It's like, yo, I'm doing you a favor. You should be putting your money with me, not with whoever over there. Okay. Next is you need to know your numbers. So what is your average deal? What is the average amount of money do you need? Are you looking for just gap funding right now? Or are you looking for primary lenders? How much money does someone have to have in order to invest with you? So when I talk to a lender now, I generally don't work with lenders who are going to give me less than 50 grand. Because, you know, when I first got started, no, I was like, my first lender was 10 or 12 grand, I think. And I was like, sweet, like, yes, please. Like, I was stoked to not raise that 10 to 12 grand. And it was way easier. But now, later on in my career, I'm not probably talking to you for less than 50, unless the deal, which in Buffalo we can do this, is much, much smaller. Like, I've got some deals if the house is only 60, 70,000. So I might not need, you know, a lot. I've even got some deals that are even cheaper than that because it's Buffalo, right? But understand, what are your numbers? How much money do you need? What are you willing to pay? Understand that, hey, like, if I can get hard money right now at 10% and 2 points, okay, well then I'm not going to pay a private money lender more than that, because it could be more of a pain in the butt, right? So understand, what are all the numbers involved in your deals, okay? So next is step 2, which is your Sales Navigator. Like I said, you do need to pay for Sales Navigator. It is an important part of this process. But what you can do with Sales Navigator is amazing. So Couple things. Number one, you can narrow down search results. So this is just a screenshot of some. You notice there's little plus signs next to each of these categories. In Navigator, I have the ability to narrow down literally who I want to talk to super specifically. So I can say they're only going to be in, for example, the greater LA area, not Orange County. Or I could say, oh, only Orange County or only this city or whatever, right? I can say, okay, I'm only looking for people from these companies. Why is that useful? Well, let's say this. Let's say that you have a private lender who works, for example, at Raytheon. Okay, and you've done a good job for them. Well, guess what I could do? I could say, listen, I'm going to target people at Raytheon, and I'm going to ask and say, actually, yeah, I'm working with someone else who works at Raytheon, and now all of a sudden there's that common bond. You've built rapport, and all of a sudden they're going, oh, okay, well, if they work at Raytheon and I work at Raytheon and they lend, maybe I should lend too, right? So it starts to create this mindset. The other thing that's important about companies is that it allows me to target companies that are more likely to have people with a lot of money. So, for example, one of the easiest groups I targeted was employees of Facebook, Apple, and Google, because they get paid stupid money. Most of them have no idea what to do with it. And a lot of them are attracted to the idea of real estate because a lot of them are, 30 to 40-year-olds, right? So for example, I have a good friend, she works at Google. When she started almost 10 years ago, she got paid $250,000 a year. That was her salary. She also got $250,000 in stock options that vested over 4 years. So she's been there now for 10. That means that she's got $250,000. Well, at the time it was $250,000. Now it's worth, God only knows, probably a couple million, to be honest. Which means, hey, that person, that individual, let's just say they have $1 million in stock options now. They can sell a couple of those options, pull a little bit of that money out, and go park it over here to do this instead and diversify their risk, right? So understand that company and things like that can help too. Function, title, I'm probably not going to go after the administrative assistant on LinkedIn because they probably don't make that much money. But I am going to go after C-level folks, directors, seniors, senior whatever, VP, senior this, VPs, EVPs, all that's anything with official sounding title. Those could be good people because they probably have a higher than average income, which makes them great potential lenders. So understanding that, hey, I can narrow down my results that way. Geography is important. Like I said, seniority level, years of experience. This is huge too, right? Obviously, someone who's been working for a longer period of time is likely to have more money. So if I define, hey, I'm only looking for folks that have 10 plus years of experience, well, now guess what? Now that's at the very least, probably a 35-year-old, like a 31 to 35-year-old plus, which means they're more likely to have money saved up, potentially have a house, have a HELOC that they can tap into, things like this. So using this functionality, it allows me to really narrow down who I want to talk to, why I want to talk to them. And remember I said the avatar before? I can target my exact avatar perfectly by doing this. Okay, so if you guys are following along with me, I want you to punch number 1 into the chat. Just make sure everyone's good, that you're understanding. Again, if you do have questions, please drop them in. I'll be happy to answer them. But just want to make sure that everyone's good with what we got going on here. Okay, the ones are rolling in. Beautiful. Donnie's got 3 ones, even better. Perfect. Good. Okay, so a couple other things. When we start to do this in Sales Navigator, okay, what we're looking for in the process is about 1.5 to 2.5 thousand people. So it will tell you this is your results based on your search criteria. This is the results that you're going to be able to get. So again, about 1.5 to 2.5 thousand people is where you want to narrow it down to. Okay, out of the literally hundreds of millions, I believe that there's almost 170 million or 180 million people on LinkedIn in the United States, maybe even more than that. Narrow down. We want to get 1.5 to 2.5 thousand. Now you notice right here, this number right here, okay, changed jobs in the past 90 days. So 64 of these 1.5 of my search results here changed jobs. This is 100% pure real estate private money lender gold. Because if they change their job in the last 90 days, there's a higher than likely chance that they haven't moved their retirement account to their new job, which means that rather than moving it to their new job and being stuck there now, they can move it to a self-directed retirement account that you can then borrow from. So this right here is the most important stat. And when I look at doing through the step 3, which is the messaging process, these 64 folks are going to be the first ones I message, because these 64 folks right here have the highest propensity to become a lender because they are more than likely have a retirement accounts that I can tap into. So understand that this is a hugely important number. Okay. And then next, posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days. The higher this number is, the better, because this means they were active, which means that when I reach out to them in step 3, they are more likely to see my message. So of the 1.5 thousand, 815, which is a great ratio, are active on LinkedIn. So I want to see that too, right? If this said like 10 of my 1.5 thousand were active, well, then maybe I need to rethink my target avatar, because only 10 of 1.5 thousand is a very, very low number. 815 means that I'm at like 70-75% of my target audience is on LinkedIn in the last 30 days, which is hugely important. So understand that that is these stats, again, and we can only get these stats from Navigator. So we want to make sure that we are tapping into what that is. Okay. So here's the secret sauce. This is why this process works. This is the thing that nobody else is doing. So what you've probably seen if you're on LinkedIn is someone connects with you. They send you a message. Okay. Ooh, sorry, too fast. Sorry. They send you a message with a bunch of text in it that just feels shitty, slimy, gross, salesy, ugh, or generic, boring, ugh. This is not what we're doing. Do not do that. Do not send the message right after connection, all right, that goes in and just says, here's what's up. Okay. You need to warm them up. You need to go visit their profile. You need to be engaging with their profile. You need to be endorsing their skills. You need to be doing a number of things. And after you've done a minimum of 3 actions with them, but ideally even more, then we hit them with a message, but not a text message. We are drafting what we call a voice message. So in the mobile app of LinkedIn, not on the computer, but in the mobile app, you can send a voice message to someone direct inside of LinkedIn. And so you're going to draft a voice message. You're going to record your voice message, and then you're going to send your voice message. This allows you to stand out. Now, obviously, if you are wanting to send one-on-one messages, right? Like, so in other words, hey, JJ, hey, hey, Naomi, hey, Deborah, hey, Cheryl, this is Bob, blah, 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 whatever, right? You can do that, right? But what we do, and by the way, this is something that we do for our clients. We have a generic one that just says like, hey, you should probably notice that I've been at your profile, been visiting your profile a little bit. I actually think that you would be a perfect candidate to be one of our private lenders. It's basically where we help individuals like you earn a better income with some of the retirement funds or equity in their house. I'm not sure if that would be of interest to you, but if it would, let's have a chat. And that's it. Right? 10 to 15 seconds, maybe 30 seconds if you talk slower than me. And that's it. But because it's a short message, you're not, saying you need to be doing this thing for me or go to this thing. You're just saying, I think I have something that can help you. You're going to see better results. Now, you're going to send out a maximum of 50 messages per day. I wouldn't send more than that. And when you do the connection process, so part of this is reaching out and actually connecting with people. You don't want to do more than 50 connection requests per day either. More than 50 connection requests per day will probably get your account shut down. If you're doing that and you get a nasty gram from LinkedIn saying you're sending out too many connection requests, slow it down a little bit more and go from there. But this is also part of the reason of paying for this. By paying for the Sales Navigator, you get a lot more latitude because LinkedIn says, well, you're paying us money every month, so we're okay if you go a little more crazy with it, okay? And then be strategic. So when we send out this message to folks, be strategic with what it is that you're saying, because you've only got this one shot. If you do this and then they're not interested, that's probably the only shot you're going to get. Now, there is one follow-up to this, which is your second shot. And then after that, you're probably not going to move this person forward in your process. So keep that in mind, okay? So after we send these messages, right? And this is the process. We reach out. Remember I said this is a very time-intense process. It can be if you're literally connecting with 50 people a day and sending out this many messages and endorsing and engaging and really connecting with people at a deeper level. That's an important part of this process too. Then it becomes very time-consuming. So make sure you understand that, hey, this is a great process, but it might be one that's not best suited for you to do, but for you to understand and to plug in someone else to take care of for you. So the last is going to be follow-up systems. After 3 days of your voice message, if you didn't hear back from them, then I send a quick text message. It just says, hey man, like I know sometimes these things get lost in LinkedIn. Just wanted to check in and see if you were open to talking, right? And usually at that point, you'll either get a yes or a no, or, oh man, yeah, sorry, I totally forgot. I meant to write back to you and I got distracted or whatever. Right? And I'm like, hey, cool, no problem. What time? And then, work from there and you do you from that point forward. Make sure, obviously, like, for example, you have your presentation dialed in, all the other stuff needs to be done too. But this is just the connecting process, okay? But after 3 days, if you didn't get a response from them, you're gonna send a follow-up message. You need to have a tracking spreadsheet for every person you message. If you're connecting with 50 folks per day, your system is going to get overwhelmed very quickly if you don't track it. So I recommend either a spreadsheet or whatever is best for you to track. Here's everyone I connected with. Here's who I sent voice messages to. Here's who I still need to send voice messages to. Here's who I need to follow up with. Maybe the date that I've done that so that I know, okay, it's been 3 days, time for me to go in for this person and send them that, right? There's a lot of systems in place that you need to make sure to manage this process as effectively as possible. And then build out those systems so that it can really generate the most number of leads for you, okay? So there is a specific process to this. What I just walked through, those 4 steps, you cannot skip a step, you cannot miss a step, you cannot say, I'm not gonna do that part. I promise you, if you do, you will not get good results, or even worse, it probably won't even work at all, okay? If you follow the process, you will get results. Why? Because we're doing it for our clients right now and they're getting results because this is a system that I know works, okay? Again, skipping a step won't work. So be prepared for everything. This is a couple more things that are important here. Know your pitch, have your pitch dialed in, understand and be able to speak it. If you don't have a private money pitch dialed in yet, then find someone in this group who can be an accountability partner for you. And I want you to practice with each other, giving your pitch. Person A pitches, person B listens, and then provides feedback at the end, and then you reverse it. And I want you to keep doing that until you get it dialed in. Because if you don't know your pitch, when you reach out to a cold person, they're definitely not going to convert. If you reach out to a warm person, maybe they convert. If you reach out to a hot person, maybe they convert. But if you know your pitch, your odds dramatically go up. I know I talk fast. I apologize. I'm doing my best to slow myself down, but this is being recorded, so we'll make sure that everyone can get the recording. Next, you got to prove that you're trustworthy, right? If I'm going to give you $100,000 of my money, I need to know that I can trust you as a human being. And remember that credibility trifecta? That's part of the trust process. That's the foundation. Look, if you don't have those 3 things in place, they're never going to give you their money anyways, because they're going to go, you don't even seem like a credible business. Why should I even trust you in the first place? Unless they already know you, in which case, sure, maybe they would. But once we've tapped through our warm market and we start going to the cold market, this becomes a much different process, okay? And then be in it for the long game. This process takes time to ramp up. When we do this for our clients, I tell them point blank, month 1 is going to be your lowest month. Month 2 is going to be your second lowest. And month 3 is going to be your third lowest. It takes time because we're reaching out to 50 people every single day. Especially if you have no connections right now, that becomes a much slower process the less connections you have. So this will take some time. Also be aware that just because you message someone today about potentially lending, either maybe A, you don't have a deal ready for them. So maybe in a month from now, you finally will, and then you're going to have to re-engage with them at that point in time. B, understand that if you're in this for the long game, one great lender can make or break your business. And I literally mean that. Like, we have one lender right now who's lent on like 3 or 4 of our rental properties, and he's phenomenal. Like 3 or 4 of our properties totaling, I don't know, like 15 doors is what he's lent on. He's our only lender on most of them. He's super stoked. And I found him in a process similar to this. It wasn't quite as refined as this. It was an older version of this, but he's become an integral part. And whenever I need money, I go to him first because he knows, likes, and trusts me at this point in time. But the first deal was the hardest, right? But now that I got him in, now it's game over. He's going to keep coming back every day of the week, okay? If you are consistently reaching out to 50 people a day, okay, and you are sending the messages to the maximum capacity that you can, okay, you should be getting 1 to 3 yeses per day. When I say yes, it's not a yes, I'm going to lend to you, but yes, I want to have a conversation and talk to you, okay? And so that's the goal, right? Because it might take 20, 30 yeses before you find one lender who's willing to work with you. Now, what is that ratio? That depends on how good your trifecta is. That depends on how good your pitch is, how much experience you have, how good are you? Do they trust you? Are they in your, like, there's a million factors I can't tell you about exactly how well this will work for you. But understand that this is the starting point. Now, that list that I showed you, for example, 1.5 thousand, remember there's hundreds of millions on LinkedIn. I narrowed it down to 1.5 to 2.5 thousand. Once I've gone through all of those, I simply move on to my secondary avatar and I go after that group. So this should allow you to create an infinite number of private lenders. And by the way, even if you don't have a deal for them to lend on, can you start brokering hard money and say, oh, well, I know JJ is working on a deal right now. I know he could use a couple, maybe $500,000. This guy's got $500,000. I want 2 points for brokering the deal and making it happen, or 1 point for brokering the deal and making it happen. And I guarantee you, if I told JJ, hey, I got a guy with $500,000, he's all in on your deal, he's going to be 10%. No, he's not getting any points, but I'm getting 1 point, but you don't have to pay him on a monthly basis until the project's done. I would be willing to bet JJ is probably going to go, yeah, I'm in. Let's do it. I'll pay you your 1 point all day long, because even though it might be, it might, 10%, 1 point, maybe he can get better rates someplace else. Maybe those rates, while they're better, he has to pay on a monthly basis, and therefore it's less attractive to him. So it's better to pay more and not have to worry about the cash flow problem. Just an example, right? But build your credibility along the way. And again, utilize your trifecta, especially your website and especially your social profiles, to help you grow with that, okay? And that's it. I do, by the way, I linked here, I have a Facebook group where I talk about a lot of things like this, totally free. If you're interested in joining, please do. Otherwise, you can reach out to me. That's my email address. I'd be happy to answer any more questions that you have.